All right, guys, what's going on? It's Daniel Kelly with Divine Potential, back with another episode. Today, we're joined by Austin Rutherford, real estate entrepreneur who owns over 30 million in real estate, has raised tens of millions in private money, all while building his portfolio without using any of his own capital. He bought his first duplex at 20, and by 21, he flipped his first house, making $107,000 in profit. Not only is he a real estate mogul, but he's also a husband and a new father to his baby boy, Reese. And he's also a social media influencer with over 1.2 million followers. His ability to educate and inspire through his online presence has solidified him as a trusted voice in the real estate community. And beyond that, he's also an accomplished speaker and author of a couple of books, but just sharing strategies that have helped him achieve financial freedom. But welcome to the show, bro.
Man, that intro, you did your research.
Yeah, I was trying to always I'm trying to do research just because.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's been a couple times where they're like, I'll like surprise some of the guests. They're just like, dude, how'd you?
Agreed.
Like,
Agreed.
Where'd that come from?
100%, man. I'm excited to be here, man.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you making this like a priority because I know I hit you up a couple months ago and it was just, I guess, only a matter of time. You've been busy.
So next time I'm in town, I'm here.
Yeah, and here we are. But diving into that first flip, I would have liked to say I made 107 G's on my first one because I lost 18.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I lost $18,000 on my first one. But how did you go about making that six-figure flip? Like, what'd that look like?
It's kind of funny. It's like one of my biggest projects, not to date, but for the first like 5 years. And doing that on your first deal was like a lot. So it came from a probate list, and it was the fifth piece of mail that I sent to them. So a lot of people, mark it one time. But there's like the saying is like you got to hit people 7 times to get the action. So it was 5 mailers over like 6 months, and they called me on the 5th time. And then I had to negotiate with like 8 or 9 different family members to get it, and put it in contract for 102 grand. And I was like, I think this is a good deal, right? It's my first deal.
Yeah.
Thanks. What I've learned, like this.
Did you know how to run comps and everything at that point? Or
I mean, like the basics.
Or you kind of just like, yo, we're just gonna.
I mean, like I ran the comps. I did my repair estimator, and the numbers worked.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, all right, cool. But I did see that the foundation was messed up. So I put a contingent on a structural engineer inspection. Brought them in. It was a $28,000 repair. Got a price reduction to $74,000. So bought it at $74,000. And before I met a guy at a networking event, and I was like, hey man, can you come like look at this? Because, tell me if it's a good deal or not. And if I wholesale it, I'll wholesale it to you. And he came out, he's like, yeah, it's a deal. I'll buy it if you can't raise the money for it. I was like, cool. Well, at least I'm making money somehow.
Yeah, absolutely.
And budget was $170,000 on the rehab. So it was a $250,000 raise. Found a private money lender to fund it. And did the deal. From buying it to selling it was 6 months, and netted $107,000 in profit.
That is insane. Literally off the first one you've ever done too.
First deal.
So before that though, it was a duplex is what you bought, correct?
Yeah, so I bought a duplex when I was 20. When I first get into real estate, like the idea, what I heard was passive residual income. And I was like, all right, passive means you make money like without working.
Yeah.
Residually means continuously. And I was like, that sounds pretty nice. Like, how do you make money continuously without doing much?
Yeah.
And then that led me to owning rentals, real estate. So that's how I kind of fell into it. Bought my first duplex at 20, had some money as a down payment at the time. And then I was broke, put all my money into the deal. I was like, well, I got to make money faster. Got my real estate license, sold like 2 deals, made like $8,000 or something, hated it. And then heard a radio ad when I was driving into work, valeting cars. Hey, if you learn how to flip houses, come to this free seminar. Went to the seminar, paid $25,000, pulled out a credit card, maxed it, $25,000, 18 months, no interest. Thought I was going to get rich overnight.
Did that scare you at all, putting that $25,000 down? Like, did you know, like at that point, were you confident? You're like, I'm going to make my money back on this.
Yes, but still scary. So it was like a couple months after I bought the duplex. Like I was broke. So I went to the seminar. It was 3 days. Day 2, they pitched their coaching program. It was 25 racks and you got to pay it on day 3. So I was like, man, but like when I was sitting in the chair on day 2, like I felt like it was my moment, right? So I went home and I went to AmericanExpress.com, said I made like $100,000, like 800 credit. I was 20 years old. Like obviously that's a lie. And they gave me 15 grand on the credit card, 18 months, no interest. So I was like we're halfway there. We're more than halfway there. We winning. And then I asked my mom, my grandparents, like everybody else I could, see if I could borrow the other 10 grand. And, probably heard what a lot of people hear, like, hey, I don't know, this might be too good to be true.
Yeah.
Sounds a little bit too nice. So I didn't get the money. So 2 a.m., I was actually living with my parents at the time. It's crazy to say, but I literally crawled under my parents' dining room table and started crying because I felt like I was missing out on an opportunity of a lifetime.
Yeah.
To the point my parents woke up at 2 a.m., came downstairs, and agreed to front me the other $10,000.
So you were just under the dining table at night, like
just crying.
Yeah. And then your parents came down and were like, all right.
And like, growing up, like I've done things that I said I would do.
Yeah.
Like they saw me work out 10 hours a day for basketball. Like there was a time I was working out so much, my dad was like, you got to slow down. Like you're going to blow your knees out.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, well, if I don't make it to the NBA, I don't need my knees.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So they saw like the work ethic. And then I think they realized that I was serious because I was crying at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
And they agreed to front the other half. But like from that day, I was like, I'm going to get rich overnight.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I paid the $25,000. It took me 10 months to find and buy that first deal,
Mm-hmm.
and another 6 months to sell it. So it was 16 months of being flat broke, valeting cars 50, 60 hours a week, going to college, taking, was it 15 credit hours? Whatever the full-time schedule is. And trying to start my real estate business, all that stuff. So I was going, 16, 18, 20-hour days for 16 months before I made a penny actually, flipping houses.
So going from like that first time when you're investing in yourself, like we're putting that 25 G's down,
yeah,
then to going and raising $250,000 for your first deal.
Yeah.
Oftentimes I feel like people are like, that's fake. There's no way that you can actually raise money. Like,
yeah.
How, like, was it one connection? Like, how did you get introduced to private money? What's that look like?
Yeah. I mean, it helps if you have experience, obviously. Yeah. But, I'm a living testament. Like, you can do it without experience.
Yeah.
And I just say, like, you never know where private money's at. Like, you got to talk to literally everybody. I try to raise money from every single person I come in contact with. And this lender, I met a year prior at a local RIA event. And I was just networking and talking to people. And at that time, she was like, yeah, I'm trying to start to get into real estate. I have a self-directed IRA, and I'm going to use that money to invest into my own deals. I was like, oh, that's awesome. I'm Austin. I'm trying to start. Blah, blah, blah. Exchange numbers. Life went on. Year later, I got this deal under contract. I asked, everybody I knew to lend me $250,000, but like, obviously that didn't happen. So I was sitting there. I was like, who do I call? And I was like, this lady from a year ago. So I picked up the phone. I was like, hey,
and you met her at a real estate event, correct?
Correct.
Okay,
yep.
Gotcha.
And remind me to circle back on that because there's a good point there.
All right, we'll do.
I called her and I was like, hey, how's business? How's real estate? She's like, well, still trying to get started, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, cool. Like, me too. I actually have this opportunity. Here's the numbers. Here's what it looks like. Is it something you're interested in? She was like, yeah, I think I'd take a look at it. And I walked her through the property and then she agreed to fund it.
That's crazy. So I feel like oftentimes, well, for me, before I ever like did my first deal, and I'm only on my third, but the idea of raising that much money is like scary. Yep. So when you go into those rooms, like, how are you presenting that opportunity? Because it really is an opportunity. Like 100%. They're gonna make money, right? How are you going about like? Well, especially at that point you didn't even really have a resume, so it's like they just got to take a chance on you. Yeah. So is there like a certain way, like a practical way that you go into these rooms and are networking and talking yourself up?
100%. So one of the things from that coaching program, they had a private money lending credibility package. So, I put together like a, 10, 12, 14, I forget how big it is, page document on like what private money lending is, what a deal looks like, what are the terms, and then frequently asked questions. So I've handed out hundreds of those. And, it's kind of like once somebody sparks interest, you can give it to them, and that's what helps educate them on that process. So I think that's something that helped me a lot early on. So that was huge. And then the biggest thing, you said it, opportunity. When I first started in real estate, I thought I was asking people for a favor or asking people to believe in me or asking people to, give me their life, retirement, right? It's not an ask. It's an opportunity of a lifetime.
Yeah. For
them to invest with me, right? And it's mutually beneficial, 100% for sure. But like when you have the mindset of like opportunity, your negotiation point, you're up here now.
Yeah.
You come from an ask, you're down here. It's very hard to get that type of thing. And the reason it's such an opportunity, I wish I had like a board.
A whiteboard?
Yeah. Like, when people start working.
Pull it up.
When people start working, in their 20s or whatever, they work until they're 65 and they save up this big chunk of money. Call it $1 million, right? save $1 million, and then they live on that money until they die. They die at 85 or whatever, and hopefully they have enough money until they die. And if they don't, they got to go back and work at Walmart.
Well, hopefully they have enough time too before they
agree.
Yeah.
Right. So that's like 90+% of the population. They work until they're 65. Hopefully have enough money until they die. Right. The alternative to that is that they can work, right, and then instead of hoping and praying that they have enough money until they die, they just lend you the money.
Yeah.
And the cool thing is like, let's say they have $1 million. So you pay them 10% interest. You're paying them $100,000 a year in interest, which means their principal never changes. So that $1 million that they saved up never goes down.
Yeah.
You pay them $100,000 every year. They can live until they're 200 years old because you pay them $100,000 every year, and they still have $1 million. So when they die, instead of giving their children $0 inheritance, they give them $1 million inheritance. So like when I got goosebumps just talking about this, like I believe genuinely, like I'm helping people and I'm giving people an opportunity of a lifetime to invest with me. So when you think like that and you understand it in that way, talking to people is the easy part.
Yeah.
Just present an opportunity. If you don't want the opportunity, I'm on to the next. It's your loss, not mine.
Exactly.
And again, it's mutually beneficial. Like I know that, but like that mindset is what helps me talk to people and be able to raise money.
Yeah, absolutely. So coming out of that first deal, 107 G's, where did you go from that in your real estate career? Like, how did you, was like, hey, we're wholesaling now, or like we're building out marketing? Like, let's talk about that.
Yeah, so I really didn't know what wholesaling was early on. So like, my like coach, my mentor.
Maybe explain it a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was taught how to flip houses using other people's money, what we've been talking about. Wholesaling is essentially when you get a deal under contract, and then you wholesale it and assign it to an end buyer, and then you make a margin. So like that investor may go out and make $40,000 in profit, and then you make a $10,000 assignment fee. Zero risk, but lower profitability potentially. So I really didn't like understand that, know what it was. So when I sold that first deal, made $107,000 in profit, I went back to college full time.
After making $100,000, you went back to college?
Yeah. At the 4 days after my 22nd birthday, it was actually a check for $184,000. I was like, holy crap. I had to pay back 77 of it. But 107 was true net. And I went back to college taking 15 credit hours, and I went back to valeting cars 50 to 60 hours a week. Because like to me, I was like, this is one deal, right? 100K, some people was like, oh, that changed my life. $100,000 doesn't change anybody's life. Like I might change it for like 6 months or something. You can spend $100,000 a day very easily. Yeah. So I was like, that was never my goal, right? So I went back and then I flipped my second house like 90 days later, made another $40,000 in profit. So I was 150 G's in, and I was like, all right, like this is real.
Yeah.
Told my mom I'm dropping out of college.
How'd she take that? How'd your mom take that?
I grew up like go to college, get good grades, go to college, graduate, get a job, etc.
Yeah.
So I always promised my mother I'd graduate and get my degree. They've been super supportive, obviously from earlier on. They invested in me, right?
Yeah.
So when I went to tell them that, they're like, yeah, I wouldn't really expect anything different because they've seen the whole journey, right?
Yeah.
So very supportive, love them to death. But yeah, dropped out and then went all in on real estate. But one other point, when I made that 107,000 check, I didn't go to dinner. I didn't buy a pair of sneakers. I didn't go on vacation. I didn't go pop bottles. I didn't spend a penny besides paying off my debts from real estate and investing every penny back into the business. I didn't spend a single penny of it. That's the other problem is people like, they work all this time and energy and effort to like do the first deal or make this first chunk of money, and then they blow it and then they start over to, stage one.
Yeah.
Like, no, like I'm using this 100,000 to explode this thing.
Yeah.
So I think people, waste a lot of money once they do finally get their break.
Yeah, that long-term vision. Yeah. So, well, going from that, so that second deal, then you pumped it. What'd that look like to put it back into the business?
Really just marketing.
Marketing?
Yeah, so I paid off my credit card debt from that.
Yeah.
And then just put it back into marketing. Until I was probably 3 to 4 years into the business until I really started marketing. So I was really just doing like, direct mail to like, probates, tax liens, divorces, vacants, water shutoffs, like very niche marketing at the time. It was really direct mail and then driving for dollars, which I still do today. That big warehouse deal was driving.
Was driving for dollars? Yeah. So what, you just got his information after that?
Buy, and I was like, that looks like crap, and called him for a year and a half.
100 calls? Was that
100 plus? Yeah.
100 plus.
So,
hey.
But like driving for dollars still works, right? So it was really just those two things early on. And then I learned what wholesaling was. And then we were spending, $20,000, $30,000 a month in marketing between direct mail, a lot of cold calling, RBMs, SMSs. I had 6 cold callers. I had 1 junior sales rep. I had 2 closers. I had a project manager. I had a transaction coordinator. I had an assistant. It's like that's when we were like operating as a wholesale company.
Yeah.
But even then, like I was the buyer. I bought 80 to 90% of the deals. So it's like, to me, it's like, why do all that energy and effort to get the best deals? Just give them to everybody else.
Yeah.
It's like, I want the best deals.
Yeah.
And then I wholesaled all the other crap.
So at that time, you're doing flips, like primarily flips.
Yep.
So it's like you're making all this money. Were you buying rentals with that? Like, were you trying to, because like you're getting rich, but like, were you building wealth at that time? No.
That's the big kicker. So 5 years into the business, I had like this epiphany, this aha moment. And the first 5 years, I was flipping 90% of the deals that came. I maybe owned like 20 rental properties, and flipped 100 plus houses. And I was making money. I was getting paid.
Yeah.
And my boy and I actually started real estate school at the same time. And right after real estate school, we started investing. And when I started investing, my business was 90% flips and 10% rentals.
Was this Terry?
Yeah.
I had Terry on the podcast too.
That's my brother.
Yeah.
His business was like 90% rentals and 10% flips. So early on, we would talk, how's business, how's life, blah, blah, blah. And early on, like I was balling. He's like, bro, how you traveling? Like, how you doing all this stuff? He's like, I'm just flipping houses.
Yeah.
What do you mean? How? And he's like, bro, like I'm broke, like jokingly.
Yes.
And, life was good. So then 5 years in, we had one of our kind of, catch up calls. And I was like, yo, how's business? He's like, yeah, I just did a refinance. I was like, all right, talk to me. Like, what's that look like? He's like, yeah, I refinanced 30 of my 100 plus houses. I was like, all right. He's like, all right, I paid off 10 of them. So that created $10,000 to $12,000 a month passive residual income for the rest of his life, minimum per month. So that's $150,000 a year on one deal. He said, I re-leveraged the other 20, which that's like another, $2,000 to $3,000 a month in true net profit. So again, that one transaction created $150,000 a year in true passive residual income. That alone, I was like, that sounds pretty nice.
Yeah, that's good.
He said, and I pulled $1 million tax-free out on top of that. $1 million tax-free is very different than making $1 million. Because if you make $1.5 million net, you pay $500,000 in taxes, so you get $1 million. At that point in my life, I've never made $1.5 million in a year.
Yeah.
Right? Not let alone one transaction.
Yeah.
And we had this phone, and I was like, come again? He said it back to me, and I was like, I've been playing the wrong game.
Yeah.
I'm running the wrong race. So the next day, I went into my office. I was like, guys, like we're flipping the entire business. And we changed it from mostly flipping to barely buying rentals to mostly buying rentals and barely flipping.
Yeah. So if you were to go back and do it again, like what would you still flip for those first 5 years? Or would you maybe gone like, because I feel like I heard on a podcast you're saying how like 80% or 90% was like flips and then the other was like rentals. So like would you have been like more like 50-50?
Something like that. Because like for me, like the real estate is my income.
Yeah.
Right? If you have another way and you're generating cash through other businesses, then just put your money into real estate and buy rental properties. But if you need to generate income from real estate, like flipping or wholesaling for me, was a way to make money. So like I couldn't keep 100% of rentals because I'd be broke.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, maybe it's 50-50, maybe it's 60-40, instead of flipping or wholesaling 300 houses, what if I kept 100 of those?
Yeah.
Right? I own 180-ish rental properties today. Like what if I had another 100 from 7 years ago that have since essentially doubled in value? Game changer, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I wish I would have kept more.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. When I guess going back to like when you first like before you like got started in real estate, did you like I've asked like a few of my guests this before. Like did you inherently know you're like anything I do, like I'm gonna be successful. Like I'm gonna go out there and like I'm gonna do it.
I mean, I always had that drive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I always believed it. I thought I was going to the NBA. When I was younger, I would like buy bulk candy from Sam's Club and sell it at school to make a profit.
Yeah.
I made, Buckeye necklaces when I was a kid. I would hire my friends to make them and I would go and sell them for more money and make the difference. So like I was always like, trying to find a way. So like, yeah, I always knew I would do it.
Yeah.
Like I never knew, and I still don't know the end vision.
Yeah.
Right. I'm just on the journey.
Yeah, absolutely. So what I was going to tell you, I was waiting to tell you just on camera, so we got more stuff to talk about, but I was going around like Ohio State and Shore North, and I was just doing like little spontaneous interviews. I don't know, you ever seen those? Like the School of Hard Knocks, the guy like goes around. Yeah. He's like, sir, like how, like, are you an entrepreneur or whatever? And I was going around, like I was asking people, I was like, hey, like, what's your dream? Like, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
And it was like, there are some people who just like, they knew.
Yeah.
And like, I could tell even before, like, kind of like approaching them. I don't know. It was just like, this dude's walking, like they're on the go.
Yep.
And then there's some people though, it's like, I asked them and it like blew them back and they're like a dream. Like, I don't like, yeah, literally. So yeah, no, I guess that kind of shocked me a little bit.
Like, so even like in our coaching program, you know, like I can tell on the first phone call if somebody's going to be successful or not.
Yeah.
And like, it's the it factor. Everybody talks about it. Like, I don't know what it is, but like people just move different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know what it is, but
yeah,
I agree.
What do you think separates people? I mean, what do you think in like your eyes is like the separating factor between like, all right, well, you said you don't know what the it factor is, but if you were to like pinpoint it to like a couple things, like a couple character traits or disciplines, like what would that be?
I mean, like a few things that, you know, make that it.
Yeah.
One is like speed or urgency. You know, like I'm always trying to get things, you know, ready and done. That's funny. You posted that book, didn't you?
Yeah, the ruthless elimination of hurry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My wife got it. So I screenshotted it.
Yeah.
Because I was going to order it.
You got to read it.
My wife got it for me the next day without knowing about my screenshot.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy. So urgency and speed is extremely important, but I think there's a time and a place to slow down as well.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's what that book probably speaks to.
Have you read it yet?
I haven't yet.
That book's coming from like these, like, I know or like, how many hours a day are you working now? How much like time would you say?
Today?
Yeah. Or like,
I mean, I'm in a different season. Like,
yeah. So like coming in, because you were saying like working those like 16, 18, 20-hour work days, you're going to read this book and it's going to test you.
I believe it.
Yeah.
I believe it. But I think like speed and urgency is one. Another one is like not accepting the word no. Like it's funny, like I'll be on a call with somebody like a supplier or something. I'll be like, hey, can I do X, Y, Z? And they're like, no. I was like, all right, well, how do we make it a yes? They're like, it's a no. I was like, what if we do this? No. What if we do this? No. What if we do this? No. What if we do this? Okay, that might work.
Yeah.
So it's like too many people just like accept it. Like it's funny. Like my wife will like look at me all crazy. We'll be out in public and I'll just like keep pressing. She's like, babe, like chill out.
Yeah.
And we'll get a yes. I'm like, nah, we good. We made it.
Yeah.
So like, I think people just like settle too much. Then another one is how do I say this? Not trying to do perfection, but like holding yourself to a different standard. Like I was on a job site today and like I walked by a piece of trash. I was like, oh my gosh. I literally walked by it and then it hit me. I was like, I turned around and picked it up.
Yeah.
It's like I'm wired to like finish.
Yeah.
Like I finish whatever I start.
Yeah.
And my wife and I started a movie on like Netflix and it's like terrible.
We got to finish it.
I have to finish it.
Yeah.
She hates it. But like that's just how I'm built. It's how I'm wired. So I think some of those things are at least what helped me be so successful.
So what about like, say you're like you just said, you're hardwired to finish, right? What if you're doing something and then you notice like you're like, oh wait, this is like a really good opportunity. Like, are you gonna pivot or would you be like, no, I said I'm gonna do this. Like I gotta see this through, because like, well, you're an entrepreneur and like in like the entrepreneur space, like you gotta be an opportunist. So like you always gotta, I guess, somewhat keep your head on a swivel. Yeah. But it can get tricky though, because it's like.
Agreed. I don't have the best answer for that, because looking back over my career, I can see times where I've been distracted. Yeah. Like, I'm thinking of one play, I made over $1 million doing it, but like it very much changed my time, energy, and effort. Yeah. So it's like, was $1 million worth the opportunity cost? And I think it's a balance. I think one of the best things people can become good at is saying no. Yeah. That's so freaking hard though, man. I was a yes man and I'm kind of still am a yes man. Like I just want to help people. Yeah. Please people. I don't want to hurt people's feelings. Yeah. But like I've learned over time in business, like you have to learn how to say no. It's the hardest. No is saying yes to yourself. And even more prevalently with my kid now. Yeah. Saying no is saying yes to him. Yeah. Allows me to be present. Allows me to be available. So I think it's something you can learn over time a little bit. Leaning into that, like you're a new father. Yeah. Like what has that, I mean, it's been like you just said off camera, like 8 weeks, 9 weeks, 10 weeks. Like how has that been like a transition? Because it's like not only is like, well, one, you're responsible for Pamela, but like two, now it's like, dude, you got like a whole kid. Like I was like, I guess break down that. What's that been like? I mean, I I love it. You know, it's like my wife will just send me kind of photos throughout the day once in a while. Every time I see him, I just like grin from ear to ear. So like I love it. It's amazing. But like it's a lot.
Yeah.
Right? You know, you'll never be like ready for a kid, in my opinion, until like it's here.
Yeah.
Like, oh wow, this is what it takes. So like, you know, it's a commitment. It takes time. But like it's the biggest blessing in the world.
Yeah.
So, you know, we're still early, you know, we're 2 months. You know, I'm still trying to like, you know, kind of figure out the schedule and everything.
Yeah.
You know, times to sleep, times to, you know, hit the gym, times to, you know, work, times to hang out with my wife and just her.
Yeah.
Right? So like, we're still trying to figure all that out since it's so new, but it's been amazing. It's been a fun journey.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Trying to figure out like balance all that and like,
but like, I don't think there's such thing as balance.
yeah.
Like people are like, you know, business and life. How do you balance it? Business and your family. How do you balance it? Like there's not balance. There's seasons, right?
Yeah.
And there's certain seasons that like, you know, is heavy in family.
Yeah.
And there's certain seasons that are heavy in work. There's certain seasons that are heavy over here, right? So those seasons can't last too long though, right? And you got to over communicate those things.
Yeah.
You know, like right now I'm in a season where some amazing opportunities has happened. On the business side for me.
So you're in a little bit busier of a season on the business front?
Exactly.
Okay.
But communicating.
Yeah.
Communication's everything. So it's like there's been so I've been with my wife 5 years.
Is that marriage or did you guys start like?
No, we've been married just over a year.
Okay.
Been together like 5-ish.
Yeah.
And there's been probably 4 times where like I've sat her down and I'm like, baby, like this is the opportunity that's going to like change the game for us.
Yeah.
And not the one, but like the one that's going to take us from A to B,
Yeah.
B to C and C to D, et cetera. And I've told her, I'm like, just so you know, like this is a different season for me.
Yeah.
I need you to be, you know, hold it down a little bit more. You know, I'm going to be present. I'm going to be here for you. But like, this is a season where it's going to take a little bit more out of me.
Yeah.
And I think, again, just having that conversation, right? And just being open and communicating that with people to, you know, whether it's your wife or your family or your spouse or your friend, whatever it is. I think people lack communication.
For sure. So since becoming like, becoming a dad, would you like, have you learned to, like, has that caused you to like reflect kind of like on your childhood a lot too?
Yeah, I got it.
Maybe like grow appreciation for your pops or your mom and like, just, like what's
crazy respect.
Yeah.
For my family, for mothers.
Yeah.
For my wife, like it is a whole different animal. And like you don't know it until you're in it. But like, yeah, respect is on another level for any parent. For my wife, seeing her, what she goes through and how she handles it. Yeah, respect.
Yeah. And today, like there's so much crazy stuff going on just like within schools. And like, I know like you left school. I mean, besides that, but just like, there's a ton of wild things going on right now. Is there anything like, I guess, different you're gonna do like when like raising like Reese versus like
our kid?
Yeah.
I want everything.
Yeah.
Do the opposite of what everybody else does.
Yeah.
I mean, like school, very strong possibility we're gonna
homeschool.
100%.
Yeah.
You know, certain things that you know, babies get as newborns, we're not in agreement with.
Yeah.
You know, our birth story is a whole other podcast in and of itself, but our plan
was it complicated? Like, was there like complications and things like that?
a lot. A lot. The plan was to do a home birth. That's how it started. It's not how it ended.
Yeah.
But like, you know, we just want, you know, babies have been around for thousands of years.
Yeah.
Before the last 50 years when there's been all types of craziness going
on.
Yeah. So yeah, we're, you know, most things we're doing the opposite of.
Yeah. Which I think it's like, I mean, you see everyone going the broad and narrow, and then you're just going like, I guess the broad path, but now you're going the narrow path. And like,
it's like the entrepreneurship pictures, like the why.
Yeah.
You got 1,000 people walking this way.
Yeah.
You got one person walking that way.
Yeah.
Right. You know, that's entrepreneurship. You know, I think that's a lot of things in life. I think that people don't think for themselves.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, you can't just hear what people are saying. Like, you actually got to like see behind the curtain.
Yeah. No, I recently had Michael McGovern on, and he was talking about how it's like that we're living in like it's like a taught system. Like everything's like taught, and it's just like you got to figure out what you believe and just like actually think outside the box, think for yourself. And but yeah, that was interesting. So
no, I agree with it 100%. again, it's like the yes man. Find a way to do what you want, do what brings you peace.
Yeah.
What brings me peace doesn't bring you peace, doesn't bring them peace. Like, you got to do what brings you peace.
Yeah. The hardest part too, I feel like, about saying no is like when you're saying no to like people, like they're good freaking dudes, like good, like women. I don't know. I'm still new to this whole saying no and entrepreneurial journey compared to, I guess you're even in it.
Saying no to good dudes, quote unquote. Question is, would they do the same? Like I unfortunately learned, a lot of people are not built the same.
Yeah.
There's lines that I will not cross.
Yeah.
Period, point blank. Even if I'll benefit massively financially.
Yeah.
I'm not crossing it. And there's a lot of people, unfortunately, that have no lines. It's like, you got to be able to know who those good people are to say yes to. The problem is, including myself, I think everybody's good.
Yeah.
And it just wastes my time and takes away from my family. It takes away from my financial security, right? So I think, like, it's a skill, saying no to the right things and saying yes to the right things. But I think it's just something that comes over time.
Yeah. I guess having that, like, moral compass, was that, like, instilled to you from, like, an early age? Like,
that was my parents. Yeah.
Your parents. What's, I guess, like, is that driven from faith? Like, what's that?
Sure.
For sure.
Growing up, we went to the church. My wife has actually brought me back closer to God.
Come on, man. That's awesome.
That's a blessing. But, my parents always said growing up, like the golden rule, treat others how you want to be treated.
Yeah.
That's something that, I think's changed my life. So I'm still on my journey, God. But it's something I'm spending a lot more time, energy, and effort pursuing. Because I think that's something that still stands true in this world.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I didn't really. That's similar for me too. Like, I grew up like going to church, right? Like my parents would take me on Sundays when I didn't have basketball,
same
or anything. Yeah, and but I wasn't like, I'd say like a Christian like that throughout that entire time. Like I didn't know Jesus. Like I didn't know I didn't
claim it.
Yeah, claim it.
Know it. Know it.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you were face to face with persecution, like would you come and stand on it? Exactly. Like I was the same exact way. I wasn't learning until like 6, 7, 8 months ago, or that's a whole nother podcast in itself too.
Sure.
But yeah, that was, I see especially just even in the real estate space, well, just business in general.
Yeah.
But there is a lot of, I guess, not I don't want to say evil, but I just want to say people with
so much evil, so much fraud, so much negativity, so much lying, so much stealing. It's crazy. So you got to be grounded somehow.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of people don't have that ground.
Exactly. One, too, when you get in a business like this where you're making a ton of money, it's and you don't have that foundation,
doesn't go well.
That does not go well.
I say money brings out evil. That's what people say. It just brings out the real you.
Yeah.
If you're a genuine, honest, nice person, you're just gonna be a genuine, more honest, more nicer person. If you're a a-hole, you're gonna be a bigger a-hole.
Yeah.
So, money just enlarges who you already are.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess I kind of want to lean into that faith part, with your wife. Mm-hmm. How is it's going into it? Because really, I've heard this too. What's just the wrong one, right? And talking from a spouse or is gonna hold you back, but the right one's gonna push you forward, right? I guess you're saying how she's helped out a ton in that aspect. Before, were you even I guess, did you were you trying to get a relationship with God versus now? What's that kind of look like?
Yeah, when I was single, I would go to church.
Yeah.
Semi consistently. I was trying to become a better me.
Yeah.
But I didn't pray all the time.
Yeah.
I didn't read the Bible. I didn't do a lot of those things that you have to do.
Yeah.
So again, I was kind of, I was a Christian, but I didn't really know it. Right.
Yeah.
And then when I got with her, her mother, was very, faithful Christian.
Mm-hmm.
She prayed all the time. It was the prayers when people say it and it shakes the whole room.
Yeah.
Those types of things. So I started hearing that. I was like, wow. And, she's the one that kind of, pushed us to go to church consistently.
Yeah.
I started reading the Bible. Start tithing more.
Yeah.
So it's just something. She's like, every time she's like, we got to pray.
Yeah.
Eat food, we got to pray first.
Yeah.
Something happens, we got to pray. So like she's just consistently like, pushed us in the right direction.
Yeah, man, that's incredible. Do you feel like, so like I recently, like I started like tithing too. Like this was back like in the, like actually right when I started my business, I was like, this is just something I'm going to do. Cause I know if like I don't start with doing it, like it's going to be like tough, I guess, to like implement it. Yeah. But I do feel like instantly, like I just like, I don't know. I like saw like, hey, not to say like it's an exchange system, right? Like, it's not like God's going to like, oh, you give this like, but like I did see a certain extent of just like, I pay the 10%, right? And then it was just rewarded, I guess, in like some shape or form.
I mean,
but
I'm a big believer, like the more you give, the more you get in return.
Yeah.
It's not like penny for penny. Like, hey, if I do this, you do this.
Yeah.
But like the more genuine people are in giving, I feel like they get it back tenfold.
Yeah.
And again, like that's one of those things that just happen, like the it factor. You can't explain it. But like the opportunities come, you meet the right people, you are introduced to the right opportunity, whatever that is. I agree on it.
Yeah. So recently I saw your grandmother. She recently passed away, but she played a huge part in your life.
Yeah.
What, if you don't mind like talking about that, like, because it almost like I'd see like, I mean, following you on social media, I see you talk about your parents, but like your grandma was always like that one that I'd like see and talk about a lot.
Yeah, I ever since I was 2, she lived with my parents. So I grew up like, I got a mom, a dad, and I got my grandma. Like, that's just what I knew. And I grew up and I was like, you guys don't have grandmas like that live with you?
Yeah. Yeah.
So something like we've just always had like, a dope relationship.
Yeah.
She always supported me. She was on Instagram, she was
seriously, even at that age,
she responded to my
that's
stories.
Cool.
Text me out the blue. So we had, a little bit probably different of a relationship than most grandkids and grandmothers.
Yeah.
But like she was my road dog.
Yeah.
I think something I love doing for people that are important to me, my wife, my parents, my grandma, is like give them the right experiences, right? Experiences that like I wanted to have and that they've never had.
Yeah.
So, luckily while she was still here, we did family vacations. I took her on a cruise, took her on a private jet. So like,
what'd you think about the PJ?
It was hilarious. So 2 quick stories. So jokingly, so we moved to Florida, my wife and I.
Yeah.
My grandmother still lived in Ohio. So I didn't see her as much as I saw her every week when I was here, minimum, at least once a week. So when we moved, I was trying to get her to come down and like see it, like bought a, really nice house in Florida. Like I wanted to see her.
Yeah.
I was living. She was like, I can't.
Did you ask her to come live with you?
Not live with
me. No, you don't. Okay.
But like, she's like, I can't travel that far. I can't do it. And I was like, a couple of times, like over the years, I was like, Gam, just let me know. Like, I'll send you the PJ, jokingly.
Yeah.
And, one day out of nowhere, she was like, yeah, I want to come visit. I was like, huh? She's like, yeah, I'm in. I was like, are you serious? She was like, yeah. I was like, done. I'll make it happen.
Yeah.
And so I called my mom. I was like, because she lives with them. I was like, hey, like, can I fly like the whole family down? Like, are you guys on board? They're like, I mean, if she's down, like, yeah, we can make it happen.
Yeah.
I was like, cool. Hey, this is the date. Don't worry about anything. And at that time, I was thinking about first class. Like, they've never flown first class.
Yeah.
Right? It's a great experience.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, I'm going to, put them all on first class. That's the experience I was going to give them.
Yeah.
And then my mentor called me, and he was taking a jet down to Cancun that I was going to the same mastermind that he was. He's like, hey, you want to come up to Cleveland? I was in Columbus. He's like, you want to drive up to Cleveland and go down on the jet with me? And I was like, yeah, I want to go on the jet. Like, I've probably been on a PJ, I don't know, 6-7 times now.
Yeah.
Like, it's a crazy experience. And so I jump on the jet, talking with him, and I mentioned about my grandma saying that she wanted to come down to Florida. And he looked at me, and I was like, I got to charter the jet, huh? He was like, yep. And I was like, all right, great. So, hit up the jet broker and, got pricing and everything. And what I chartered was an 8-seater. Like, it was a jet, but like, it was kind of like, a little bit smaller.
Yeah.
And so I paid for it. Everything was good. And I was like, two fears here. One, my grandma changes her mind.
How much did you have to pay for that? How much is like?
I think it was like $35,000.
Okay, 35.
One
okay.
way. One trip.
Just one way?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Wow.
And then the second thing was like, if the jet broke down, like that messes up the plan. Right?
Your grandma's gonna be pissed.
Yeah, and like my family thinks we're flying commercial, so
Yeah.
like randomly delay by 5 hours, they're gonna be like, "What's going on?"
Yeah.
It was all a surprise. So I flew back to Ohio because I wanted to be on the jet.
Yeah.
And I just told them I was coming for a closing. My family, I was coming for a closing. So the night before, I was out to dinner with one of my friends, and I got a text from the broker. Oh my gosh! And it was like, "Hey, jet malfunction. Call me when you can." I was like, "Here we go." So I called him. I think we were leaving at like 11 or something. He was like, two options. One, I can send you a G4 and they can be there at 2 o'clock, but not 11 o'clock. I was like, all right, what's option number 2?
Is a G4 bigger than the 8-seater?
It's a 16-seater.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I didn't know that. So he said that. I was like, what's option number 2? He was like, I can scramble and try to get you a replacement at 11 o'clock. I was like, well, tell me more about this G4. He's like, it's 16-seater. You got a stewardess. Like it's like the next level.
Yeah.
Like the next level. I was like, yeah, we'll go with the G4. He's like, I'll do it at the same price. I was like, that's amazing. So we were pulling up to the airport. Again, surprise for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
We pulled up. Everyone's like freaking out. My mom's like, what the, like, there's no way.
Yeah.
And my sister actually caught this on camera, and she's showing my mom. My mom looked at my grandma. My mom was like, she's like, did you know? And my grandma looked at her. She was like, I told all my friends that we were coming on the PJ, and you didn't believe me.
Your grandma, that's
incredible.
incredible.
I looked at her, I was like, she's like, you said it. I was like, so when I was joking, she took me serious. But yeah, it was an unreal experience. There was a lot of tears shed.
Yeah.
That was less than a year ago.
Wow.
And she passed a couple weeks ago. So it's like, you never know when that moment's coming.
Yeah.
Right? So we do this to have experiences. And, we always say, like, we're doing this for our family,
Yeah.
for our friend, whatever it is. But the problem is we get so caught up chasing that we never actually reflect back and do the things that we're doing it for.
Yeah.
And, like, one of mine is, like, giving my family experiences.
Yeah.
So I think people get lost in the chase sometimes. And I've been lost, too.
Yeah.
Speaking from personal experience.
Yeah. Well, even just like me being like this young guy, like just new into the journey, like, yeah, I know I'm in a season of just like grind. But also there is times where I'm just like, maybe I do need to like enjoy this moment. Like if it's like hanging out with friends or just like, well, like I remember you, actually this is, I remember you were telling me about like the law of exposure, like when we were in Cabo. That was last year, which it's wild just how much has changed, man. But I remember you telling me like the law of exposure and you're just, we're sitting poolside. That was pretty cool. I think it was just me and you kicking it. And then you're like, yeah, well, when you like kind of like go to these different places, these cool places for however long it be, like it kind of allows you to think bigger. Just like, I guess you kind of get a taste of like that dream, and you're like, oh wait, like I like this. I want to figure out a way to do it more. But
once you're exposed to something, you can never be unexposed.
Yeah.
Like first time I went on, 120-foot yacht. I was like, this is how the other world lives.
Yeah.
Like since then, I've chartered, I don't know, 10 or 20 of them.
Yeah.
So first time I went on a PJ, I was like, the movies are real.
Yeah.
You pull up to the plane, they get you bags, they hand you a drink, you're on for 30 minutes. And I was like, this is wild. And now, I've been on multiple and I've chartered my own now. First time I got in a Rolls Royce, I was like, bro, this is what everyone thought. This is dope on a Rolls Royce. So it's like, once you have the exposure to something, you can never forget it.
Mm-hmm.
And competitive people that, find ways to win, find ways to get there.
Yeah.
Like you'll never get there if you don't know it exists.
Exactly.
Like it's so important to expose yourself to things so you can see what that is.
Mm-hmm.
So then you can build a plan on how to get there.
Yeah, no, totally. Like I'm going down to the Florida Keys here in like a few weeks.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we're going skydiving and then like staying on like a sailboat.
That's dope.
Yeah, so just like I guess, and like I'm not gonna be doing that like all the time just because I'm young. It's like, yo, I don't. But like every once in a while, I guess like being able to enjoy that if you
have to,
or you got to.
Don't get burned out otherwise.
Yeah, especially just when you're, I guess, on the entrepreneurial journey, just like it's a ton of work. You're getting pulled in a ton of different directions.
Agreed.
Yeah, but I guess so. Like lean in. So you like built like 1 point, like a following, like 1 million followers.
Yeah.
How have you like? Is that a business in itself that you're like able to make money from, or like? Yeah, I guess like let's talk about that.
Yeah, for sure. I I mean, social media, you know, I say social media exists in this world one of two ways. It either uses you or you use it, go in between. So like if I'm going to be on social, I'm going to make money from it.
Yeah.
So like I don't make a lot of money like from Instagram.
Yeah.
But the opportunities that come from the people from Instagram are tremendous. You know, I've raised a ton of money, private money from it. I bought a lot of deals from it. I have a coaching program where I've made a lot of money from it. I do masterminds. I make a lot of money from it. So it's like, you know, the opportunities that affiliate deals make a lot of money from it. So it's like the opportunities that come from that being exposed, you know, are endless. Now it can steer people into a very negative place, which unfortunately, as I've grown in the, you know, social guru space, you know, you see that majority of people are fake. You know, things that they say are not real. Yeah. Which sucks.
Have you met a lot of like people like you see their socials in the guru space and then you actually meet them and you're just like, wait, this ain't adding up.
Yeah. I've gotten calls to borrow money from those good people because they can't afford things. Like it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
But like, again, that's everything in life.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, the opportunities that come from it are tremendous.
Interesting. So are you using it? So you're doing like Instagram, TikTok, YouTube?
Yeah, we do Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook. You know, it can be as you can spend a whole 40 hours a week just posting and making content.
Yeah.
So it's like, how do you build a better system around it? Right? Best piece of advice that I got early on was to document, don't create. So document what you're doing every day, which is like if you're doing a closing, shoot a boomerang. If you're going to walk a property, shoot a video walkthrough. If you're going out to eat, take a photo of dinner or whatever. If you went to a mastermind, take a photo and write your 3 recaps, thoughts of the event or whatever. So it's like documentation of what you're already doing takes very little time, energy, and effort to think through. Creating content,
that's a whole another ball.
A whole other animal. You're prepping, you're writing, you're scripting, you're watching other people's content to see what works, what doesn't work. So like early on, the documentation is all you need. We'll get to creation, but start with just documenting what you're
starting with documentation. Yeah, I just like being like newer on this space. Like I'm already catching myself because I've been like documenting my journey for a little bit, but then I start to get the comparison. You look around everyone else. You're like, oh, this person's content is way better than mine. And then
the comparison thing. Another thing that I've heard has helped me is your numbers are your numbers. You'll hear people on social media say, hey, I made $100,000 this month. It's like, all right, like, what does that actually mean? Did you sell one house for $100,000 and you profited $2,000? Like, is $100,000 the sale price? Is $100,000 the gross profit price? Is $100,000 before taxes, before commissions? Like, what's the $100,000? We don't even know what the $100,000.
Yeah.
So it's like the problem with comparisonitis is like you're comparing things to things that aren't even real. Like someone's like, hey, I did $1 million this month. Okay, but how much did you net?
Yeah.
Well, we had a 5% profit margin. So you made $50,000.
Yeah.
And you get taxed at 30%, so you made $33,000.
Yeah.
But like we just see the $1 million number, right? So it's like what I've learned is like, don't chase those things.
Yeah.
Because like it's a constant battle. Like someone's like, I did $1 million this month. I'm like, oh my God, like why am I not doing it? But like, what does that mean?
Yeah. I remember early on in the game because like I caught myself comparing myself to you. I'm not even kidding you because I literally like. I remember I was like, I'm going to do my first flip before Austin Rutherford. But where you made $107,000, I lost 18.
Yep. I mean, but it's like everybody's got their own journey.
Yeah.
I mean, like, again, I've been on the compare. I still are, compare. But it's something you just got to be conscious of is like, you're running your own race, right? And again, like, you don't know what other people's numbers mean.
Yeah.
So you can't get caught up with that.
Yeah. Do you remember like the first time, like, flipping out your phone and like documenting it or like because like I vividly remember like the first time I ever posted like because I was so scared. I was like so scared of what other people were gonna think. But like weirdly enough, I mean, I feel like honestly posting on social media like has like in a weird way like grown my confidence 100%. In a lot of ways. 100%. Just because you're like I don't care what you think kind of thing. But
no, I agreed. Like I use it as accountability.
Yeah.
We were talking about not drinking. Sober before this.
Yeah.
I've been sober for 1.5 years, and the first time I did it, I posted on social media.
I saw that.
I'm done drinking.
Yeah.
So it was like, now I got to be accountable. to that. You know, there's thousands or tens of thousands or hundreds of people that like I have to follow through.
Yeah.
Right. So I kind of use it as like a thing to play games with my own self. So that's great. But do I remember the first time I posted? Yeah. Not the first like post, but the first time like I actually tried.
Yeah.
It was a Facebook Live, and I was in California, San Diego, on vacation, and I journaled out, you know, bullet points of everything I wanted to say. So like, you know, if I got confused, I could reference it and I would be good.
Yeah.
So I journaled it out, and then I was outside and I put my water bottle in front of me, put my phone on the little selfie mode.
Yeah.
And when you do that, you got to click start and then confirm.
Yeah.
Right. So I was sitting there looking at my phone, and I legit stared at the screen for 30 minutes. And my boy, I swear to God, and my boy came outside. He was like, you good, bro? We were just like sitting at the table, just staring at the screen. I was like, I'm good. Don't worry about me. And, you know, it was a Facebook Live. So I clicked live and I started talking, and like 30 seconds into it, it shows you how many people are watching, like in the top right-hand corner. It was 0. And I was like, you know, started playing games. I was like, man, I knew I was a failure. I know nobody was going to show up.
Yeah.
Like, this is exactly why I didn't want to do this. You know, this is dumb. And I gave all myself the negative thoughts. And I picked up my phone and clicked exit. And then you have to click confirm.
Yeah.
And I was looking at the confirm or the cancel button. And I sat there and I was like, this is really like what's going to stop me is like a 0 on a screen from somebody else I don't even know. And I clicked cancel, and I finished the live, and it was terrible. I screwed up. I stumbled on my words. Like, it was awful.
Yeah.
But like, I did it. And that was kind of the first step in the process for me.
Yeah.
And that's what kind of got the ball rolling.
Yeah.
And I'm obviously glad I did that.
So glad you did it. Yeah. No, those, I mean, I've been in that exact, like, well, with like the first podcast I did, I was just like so like caught up in my head. And sweating. Yeah. I mean, even still, yeah. But like all those thoughts that just like come into your freaking brain, and you're just like you're not worried, like you aren't anything, like kind of like all that. But honestly though, since like, I think this all goes back into faith though too, it's just like, that's like a way that the enemy's going to totally like try and like come at you,
100%.
like tell you you're a freaking loser, tell you that you aren't crap. But like, understand though, like those thoughts, like those aren't your thoughts, man. Like those are
what I live by, and this is like, you know, anybody listening, like write it down. It's like you cannot control the thoughts that come into your mind.
Yeah.
You see something and there's a thought.
Yeah.
Right. Thoughts just pop up left and right. But you do have the ability to control your reactions to those thoughts. The problem is nobody controls those reactions. So it's like, you know, I can have a very negative thought, but then I get rid of it very quickly, right? It's like, how long do you simmer in that thought? Is it a second or a minute or an hour, a day, a month or a year or a lifetime? A lot of people simmer in those negative thoughts for a month or years.
Yeah.
And that's why things aren't going well for them. So it's like, how quickly can you get that thought out of your mind?
Yeah.
So it's like, anytime anything negative comes into my head, it's like, I purposely think of getting rid of it, so it's not there.
Is that that's what you practically do? Like, 100%. Thought comes in, you're like, all right,
like, this isn't me.
This isn't me. Out.
And then what do I replace it with? Affirmations.
Right. Yeah.
So it's like, you know, you have to intentionally get that stuff out of your brain as quickly as possible.
Yeah. Because we think, I mean, I know for myself, I think some crazy stuff sometimes. And I'm just like, man, I am messed up.
For real. Like there's so much negativity in everybody's life.
Yeah.
But it's like, who dwells in it and who gets rid of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that the other thing that helps with that is like truly understanding, like, you cannot control the uncontrollables.
Yeah.
95% of things that happen in your life, you have zero control. Right? So it's like letting those things go and focusing on the things you can control.
Yeah.
Again, a lot of people focus on the uncontrollables. You're wasting all your time, energy, and effort over here for something that will never work.
Yeah.
Now, preparing for something, yes, like this podcast. Like, if you show up, you don't know my name, you don't know my story, you don't know anything, it's going to be a terrible podcast.
It's horrible. Yeah.
Right? You do some research to know enough to then have an intelligent conversation. Right? So I'm not saying don't prep. You got to prepare for things. But once you're in the moment, like, you can't control it. Like, what's done is done.
Yeah.
So you just got to let those things go. Focus on the things you do have control of.
100%. Going back into, I guess, what we were talking a little bit about off camera, just like sobriety and everything. Yeah. So since quitting alcohol, and like, but I remember before, you know, you said you weren't really like that big of a drinker, but like, how has that process been, that journey? I'm sure. Yeah. What do you think?
going back to it too, the only reason I drank because of peer pressure. Like the only time I would drink is like out in public when I was with people and like, you know, dinner, parties, going out, whatever it is. Cause like everybody else would drink.
Yeah.
Like, I wanted to fit in.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you know, how do you get past other people's opinions? And one day I was just like, what's the point? Like I'm trying to get in shape. These are extra calories for no reason.
Yeah.
You know, I waste a day when I get drunk. It's like, why?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And one day I just woke up, I was like, yeah, I'm done drinking. And everyone's
Was that in Cabo that you woke up and were like,
I don't remember the day.
you don't remember the day? Okay.
I don't. Actually, funny. I said I was done drinking. I think it was June. When was Cabo?
It was, I remember it was like June 22nd. It was like the end of June.
Shit. It may have been July. It was the day it may have been when I got back.
Because I remember you were like, because this was the time when I was a freaking drunk idiot. And, but, well, I heard you say, you're like, yeah, I'm thinking about it. And that was, well,
I think it was.
Yeah, because you were drinking like it was like a strawberry daiquiri or something like that, and I know you like those.
I get a virgin.
Yeah, exactly. The virgin strawberry, those things are fire. But yeah, I remember you told me that. I was just like, because like I told you, like I'm 4 months like off the drink too, like I haven't drank, and like you were the one who like planted that seed. Because well, just literally that entire week, this was a terrible week for me, and like so much. I'm making like a solo podcast just about like kind of like life these last and like that week was like a really it was a really big defining moment as far as like who
who you want to be,
like who I wanted to be, but like who I was becoming. And because like I spent that entire week, I was just like getting freaking like blacked out, and I was just like, and I come back from that trip, and like I heard you say that, but I was also just like, why am I doing this? Like it's just like, all right, it's not pushing me any closer to my dreams or goals. Like I'm doing it purely to fit in, like, and it was just there's zero alignment. And I don't know, just like since going like sober, I'm sure like you feel very similar. It's just like there's like so much freedom to not even think about it. Like I
got more money in the bank.
Yeah.
I got more peace. I don't have wasted days.
Yeah.
I mean I wouldn't change it for anything.
Yeah. I feel there and actually I remember the reason, because I literally remember the day that I was like, I can't do this. It was May 31st, and like the last time, like it was after like a concert, and like I had drank a little too much, and it wasn't even like I was like hammered or anything like that, right? But I woke up that next day, and two, at this time, like I was like in a leadership role, like I was like a youth leader too, and I was just like, bro,
it doesn't work.
I was like, you literally like, and it was just like one of those like I went to like I had like couple drinks before like the concert, and then like there it was like the music's going right, and then like you don't really like recognize just like how much you're drinking, and then the next day I woke up, I was like, yeah, you crossed that line. It's just like you are like you just can't be doing that anymore. And like I heard a quote too, it's like small vices kill big dreams. And I was like, yep.
Agreed, man. And the cool thing is like you can literally change it.
Yeah.
It's a choice.
Yeah, right there. Oh, so I remember what I was gonna say is like after that day, like I like felt like super like ashamed and like defeated. I actually did like a study like just like on like, all right, what does the Bible actually have to say about alcohol? And it's like alcohol itself is not bad. And like even like in Psalms and like King David, like it talks about like wine that like gladdens the man's heart, right? But it's like it's all about your heart posture behind it. And like I know like my heart posture behind it wasn't good. And so I was like, yeah, man. And it's just like I would want I guess all my other areas to elevate, I guess, in life. And like you said about calories too, it's just like I can't get jacked.
Zero benefits.
Yeah.
Literally, there's not a single benefit.
Yeah.
So it's like, for what?
Yeah. And it makes it kind of like, that makes me think too, like, there's like, if you're ever relying on like a substance to like calm you down, chill the nerves. Like when you walk into a room,
Yeah.
like
You gotta be at peace with yourself first.
yeah,
100%.
yeah, and that can be scary for some people trying to
Agreed.
figure
They don't
out.
like the life that they've created for themselves.
Yeah, that's it's like, and I think I've like told my friends this before too. Is like every single decision like that, like we've made, every single choice we've made, it's like you're living in the reality of your past choices.
We all got choices we gotta make in life, but you gotta live with them too.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, kind of one of the last questions. Like looking back at your journey, what's one thing you wish you would have done maybe a little bit differently, whether it's like business wise or like holistically, just like spiritually, anything? Like, is there anything that you would have missed? Maybe.
I mean, one of the business things we talked about is like, I wish I owned more real estate.
Yeah.
Instead of selling everything. I think it sucks in the moment, but as the years go by, it's one of the best decisions you'll ever make. So I think that's one big thing. Another, when you're single, you're wasting a lot of time.
Yeah.
I'm just very happy and honored and blessed. I found my wife. It's brought a lot of peace to my life.
Yeah.
Trying to think. So those are the first two things.
The first two things, man. I don't want to wrap it up yet. I want to ask you one last question. So when it comes to finding like a wife, like, and just like a relationship, like we talked about, it's either gonna pull you down or it's gonna push you forward.
Yeah.
And shoot, I might be asking this advice for myself, but like I guess like when you're looking for someone special, especially like in the line of work that like, entrepreneurship, like what's something that's like really important, I guess, to be like looking for, like green flags, red flags, maybe stay away from certain stuff. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I think different people want different things. Right.
Mhm.
So if I say, hey, don't do these, don't find somebody with these 10 things, like that might not be what you want. Right.
Yeah.
But what I will say, and what helped me find Pamela, is that, there was a time where, I was dating and, I wasn't finding exactly what I wanted in life.
Mhm.
And like we write down our goals and dreams about like everything in life, right?
Yeah.
So one day I was just like, all right, cool. What do I want in a female? And I wrote down like 200 traits, like everything.
Yeah.
What the personality, their family, the way they support me, the way, everything I could think about. It was almost 200 things. And then like a couple months later, I found Pamela. I was like, that's wild. It's crazy how those things work. So, my piece of advice to people would be like, what do you want?
Yeah.
Or what do you don't want?
Yeah.
It's a lot easier to know what you don't want, and I can tell you what you do want. Just be real with yourself. Like if you don't know what you're looking for, you're never going to find it.
Yeah.
So, if you got to write down 200 traits, write down 200 traits. You're very vividly clear on exactly what you want.
Yeah.
Like I would just, take time to actually think through what you actually want out of a spouse.
Yeah.
Because like some people want like, a spouse that, makes more money than them, right? Some people want a spouse that, will work to add to the income. Some people want a spouse that will be home, take care of the kids, right? And my personal opinion for that, I was like, whatever she wants to do, I'm good with. She wants to stay home, I'm good. She wants to work, I'm good, right?
Yeah.
Like I do that.
Yeah.
So that really wasn't a big issue for me because like, I was good no matter what happened. But like there's other things in my life that like I needed someone to support me. I needed someone to understand that I'm an entrepreneur and like there's seasons in life.
Yeah.
And like if that person didn't know that, it wouldn't work for me. So like there's some things that were absolute non-negotiables for me, and there were some things that I just wanted, right? But I was clear on those things once I took time to write them down.
Yeah. Oh, that clarity. Seeking clarity. Well, I feel like that's incredible advice. So thank you for sharing that. I need to
see your list.
You probably do, because I think I need to do some work on. I got one, but I'm just like, I think we can be a little bit more crystal clear. Like if you're able to get 200, like, yeah, I should be able to at least get like 100.
Agreed.
But all right, man. Well, this has been incredible.
Dope, man.
And this has been my favorite episode by far. I was literally just thinking about this. I appreciate your vulnerability and just like you're super easy to have a conversation with. So
appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, I know a lot of people are gonna take away some good stuff from this. So
appreciate it, bro.
All right. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. That was episode 7. So appreciate you guys. Peace.